1. Introduction. Have you ever felt like you're surrounded by people, but still alone? Do you find yourself struggling to form genuine friendships in a world that constantly pushes for connections? It's something many of us face. And if you're watching this, you might be feeling it. 2. But here's the thing, according to ancient Stoic philosophy, a lack of friends doesn't define your worth. In fact, it can be a signal that you are growing, changing, and aligning yourself with something deeper. Today, we're going to explore the Stoic approach to friendship. How we can apply this timeless wisdom to understand our social connections. And most importantly, how we can forge relationships that truly matter. Let's begin our journey. Point 2. Context and background. Stoicism is a philosophy that teaches us to find strength within ourselves. It originated in ancient Greece and was practiced by notable figures like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. These philosophers taught that while we can't control external events, we have complete control over how we react to them. This principle is key when it comes to navigating friendships. Marcus Aurelius, in his writings, often spoke about the nature of relationships, noting that true friends are rare and precious. He compared friendships to diamonds, difficult to find but valuable beyond measure. And Epictetus reminded us that we are not disturbed by events, but by our judgments of them. These ideas are crucial as we navigate the modern world, where superficial connections can sometimes take the place of genuine friendships. So, what can we learn from this? Let's dive into the principles that guide Stoic relationships and how they apply to us today. Point 3. Practical application. Now that we understand a bit about Stoicism and its roots in relationships, let's look at how we can apply these teachings in our own lives. Here are some core Stoic principles that can help us navigate friendship. Stoic philosophy offers profound insight into embracing who we are. And this is particularly relevant for those who identify as shy or introverted. In today's extrovert-centric world, introversion and shyness are often seen as barriers to building relationships and making friends. However, Stoicism encourages us to flip this narrative. Instead of seeing introversion as a weakness, we can embrace it as a strength that allows us to create deeper, more meaningful connections with others. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you." This quote serves as a foundation for self-acceptance, an essential component in the process of embracing our true nature. Shyness and introversion, perceived challenges for many. Shyness or introversion might create anxiety or discomfort in social situations. These feelings of self-consciousness often lead to negative self-talk, reinforcing the idea that something is wrong with their personality. The pressure to be more outgoing or to engage in constant social interactions can lead to feelings of inadequacy or frustration. This societal bias towards extroversion places undue emphasis on quantity over quality in relationships, leaving introverts questioning their social worth. Shyness is typically associated with a fear of judgment or rejection, which can inhibit spontaneous interaction. Introverts, on the other hand, may feel drained by large social gatherings, finding comfort in solitude or smaller, more intimate settings. While these traits may seem like obstacles in forming relationships, Stoicism provides a fresh lens through which we can view these characteristics. The Stoic approach: embrace. Don't resist. One of the core tenets of Stoicism is the acceptance of what we cannot change. Instead of viewing shyness or introversion as personality defects, Stoicism teaches us to embrace these qualities as part of our inherent nature. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to accept the things to which fate binds you, urging us to stop fighting our internal dispositions. When we resist our natural tendencies, we create unnecessary friction within ourselves. Acceptance, on the other hand, leads to inner peace and allows us to focus on the things that truly matter in the context of social interactions. This means accepting that introversion may limit the number of friendships you form. But it also means that the friendships you do create are likely to be deeper and more meaningful. Introverts tend to prioritize quality over quantity in their relationships, valuing a small circle of trusted friends over superficial acquaintances. Shyness, too, can be reframed as a natural caution that protects us from hasty, shallow connections. The unique strength of introversion. Introversion offers a unique vantage point in social interactions, while extroverts thrive in large gatherings and thrive on frequent social engagement. Introverts bring to the table the ability to deeply observe and understand others. This capacity for reflection allows introverts to develop empathy and insight into the human experience, qualities that make for more meaningful and compassionate friendships. Stoicism celebrates introspection, a trait naturally aligned with introversion. The Stoics believe that constant self-examination is key to leading a virtuous life. Seneca, another influential Stoic, often wrote about the importance of reflecting on one's own thoughts and actions, arguing that a life unexamined is one lived without purpose. For introverts, this deep self-awareness provides the foundation for authentic connections, as it allows them to approach relationships from a place of sincerity and emotional intelligence. By embracing introversion, you cultivate relationships built on mutual understanding and genuine respect. This aligns with the Stoic principle of living in harmony with your true nature. You do not need to adopt the extrovert's social calendar to find fulfillment in your relationships. Instead, you should seek out interactions that align with your values and natural preferences. Nurturing meaningful connections. When you embrace introversion and stop comparing yourself to extroverts, you free yourself from the pressure to maintain a large social circle. This shift in perspective allows you to focus on nurturing a few close friendships that resonate with your true self. As the Stoics teach, happiness and contentment are not found in external things but in the way we think about and approach life's challenges. Rather than measuring your social success by the number of friends you have, focus on the depth of your connections. Quality over quantity is a principle that resonates with Stoicism. Introverts are naturally inclined to build stronger emotional bonds with fewer people, and this creates the opportunity for more meaningful, long-lasting friendships. These friendships, built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding, are more likely to stand the test of time. In practical terms, this means being intentional about the relationships you cultivate. Instead of trying to force connections at large social gatherings where you feel uncomfortable, seek out smaller, more intimate settings where you can have meaningful conversations. For example, joining a book club or attending small group events related to your interests can provide the perfect environment for fostering deeper connections. Additionally, recognize that vulnerability can be a strength. While shyness may sometimes feel like a burden, it can also be a form of humility that invites others to open up to you. Shy individuals are often seen as good listeners, and this quality can endear you to others who are seeking genuine emotional connections. Taking control of what you can, actions over results. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of focusing on what we can control. In social situations, we cannot control how others will respond to us or whether we will make an instant connection with someone. What we can control, however, is how we present ourselves, our actions, and our attitudes. Epictetus, another key figure in Stoic philosophy, taught that we should not concern ourselves with things beyond our control. Instead, we should focus on doing our best in every situation, and let go of the outcome. For introverts, this means letting go of the pressure to impress or charm others in social interactions. Instead, focus on being your authentic self and expressing genuine interest in others. This shift from seeking approval to seeking connection can relieve much of the anxiety that introverts feel in social situations when you view each interaction as an opportunity to express your true self, rather than as a test of your social skills. You create space for authentic relationships to form. This aligns perfectly with the Stoic belief that virtue, not external success, is the ultimate goal. Whether or not you make a new friend at every event, you can take pride in knowing that you are staying true to yourself and acting in accordance with your values. Conclusion: the power of authenticity. Self-acceptance is the first step toward building meaningful relationships. And Stoicism provides a powerful framework for embracing who you are. By accepting your introversion or shyness, you allow yourself to approach relationships from a place of authenticity. This authenticity fosters deeper, more meaningful connections, aligning with the Stoic ideal of living in harmony with your true nature. Introversion is not a barrier to friendship, it is a strength that allows you to connect with others on a more profound level. By focusing on what you can control, letting go of societal expectations, and embracing your unique perspective, you can build friendships that are rich in trust, understanding, and shared values. Through the lens of Stoicism, you learn to view yourself not as lacking in social skills but as possessing the quiet power to form genuine, lasting connections. Principle 2: Trust and boundaries. Friendship and trust are deeply intertwined, both developing gradually over time. Much like the foundation of a strong and stable structure, trust in a relationship is earned piece by piece, through shared experiences, mutual respect, and consistent behavior. The Stoics, who were dedicated to understanding human nature and virtue, believed that trust, like all things, must be cultivated patiently. Setting boundaries, as they taught, is not an act of isolation but an essential means of protecting one's inner peace and ensuring healthy, flourishing relationships. Trust as a gradual process. The Stoics viewed trust as something that must be earned over time, not given away freely or without careful consideration. Trust is fragile, easily broken, and challenging to rebuild. The philosopher Seneca emphasized the value of cautious trust, advising that while we should strive to be open and kind, we must also exercise discernment in whom we allow into our inner circle. Just as a tree stands firm by knowing its roots, we too must be firmly grounded in our values and boundaries when building relationships. When establishing trust, it is important to remember that both parties in a relationship must act with integrity. Stoicism teaches that trust is reciprocal. It is not just about whether you can trust someone else but also whether they can trust you. Epictetus reminds us that it is impossible to begin to learn that which one thinks one already knows. This means that entering into a friendship with the assumption of trust can be misguided, as trust must be demonstrated through actions, not assumptions. Setting boundaries for self-protection while building trust is important. It is equally important to set boundaries to protect yourself from potential harm. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out, they are the guidelines that help preserve your mental and emotional well-being. The Stoics understood the importance of boundaries and believed they were essential for leading a virtuous and balanced life. Without boundaries, you risk being taken advantage of or having your energy drained by unhealthy relationships. Boundaries help clarify expectations in a friendship. They enable you to communicate your needs and limits, which helps prevent misunderstandings and unnecessary conflict. The Stoics emphasize the need for clear communication, urging individuals to act with intention and honesty in all relationships. By setting boundaries, you make it clear to others what behaviors are acceptable and what are not. In doing so, you protect your peace of mind and ensure that your relationships are built on mutual respect, trust, boundaries, and virtue. In Stoic philosophy, the ultimate goal is to live in accordance with virtue, which involves acting with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Trust and boundaries are part of this virtuous life. By being discerning in whom you trust and setting boundaries, you create space for relationships that reflect your values, Trust is built through actions that align with virtue. And boundaries help ensure that these values are maintained in the relationship. Seneca, in his letters, frequently spoke about the importance of aligning with virtue in all aspects of life, including friendships. He wrote, "To be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it," emphasizing the Stoic belief that it is not the external event that harms us but how we choose to perceive and respond to it. If someone breaks your trust, it is important to learn from the experience and realign with your values, rather than dwelling on the betrayal. Trust and boundaries, therefore, are not about controlling others but about maintaining self-control. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control how others behave, but we can control our response to their actions. When trust is broken, the Stoic approach is not to become consumed by anger or disappointment, but to reflect on what went wrong, set healthier boundaries, and move forward with a clear mind and heart. This is how we cultivate resilience and maintain our inner peace in the face of challenges. Learning from broken trust. One of the most difficult aspects of friendship is dealing with broken trust. When someone violates your trust, it can feel like a personal failure or betrayal. However, Stoicism teaches us that broken trust is not a reflection of our worth but an opportunity for growth. Rather than seeing broken trust as a failure, the Stoics viewed it as a chance to reevaluate the relationship and set stronger boundaries moving forward. Seneca's quote, "To be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it," is particularly relevant here. He encourages us not to dwell on the wrongs done to us but to move on from them. This does not mean ignoring the harm caused, but rather choosing not to let it define you or your future relationships. By focusing on what you can control, your actions and your boundaries, you can turn the experience of broken trust into a learning opportunity. Stoicism advises against seeking revenge or holding on to resentment when trust is broken. Instead, it teaches us to practice forgiveness and temperance. Forgiveness does not mean excusing the behavior but rather choosing to let go of the emotional weight it carries. By forgiving the person who wronged you, you free yourself from the burden of anger and bitterness, allowing yourself to move forward with a sense of peace and clarity. Rebuilding trust with boundaries. Once trust has been broken, rebuilding it requires both patience and clear boundaries. If you choose to continue the relationship, it is essential to communicate your boundaries clearly and consistently. This involves setting new expectations for the relationship and holding the other person accountable for their actions. It also requires you to stay committed to your values and not compromise on what is important to you. Stoicism encourages us to approach life with wisdom and discernment. When rebuilding trust, this means being mindful of the actions that led to the breakdown of trust in the first place and taking steps to prevent it from happening again. While you may be open to repairing the relationship, you should also be cautious about putting yourself in a vulnerable position without first seeing evidence of change. Boundaries are the safeguard that allows you to protect your well-being while giving the relationship a chance to heal. They ensure that you remain in control of your emotions and that your actions align with your values. By setting boundaries, you give yourself the space to rebuild trust gradually, based on consistent actions rather than promises or words alone. Conclusion: a Stoic approach to trust and boundaries. In Stoicism, trust and boundaries are essential components of living a life of virtue. Trust must be earned through consistent, virtuous actions, and boundaries are the tools that protect your inner peace and help you stay aligned with your values. When trust is broken, Stoicism teaches us to approach the situation with wisdom, learning from the experience and setting healthier boundaries moving forward. Rather than dwelling on the betrayal, we are encouraged to focus on what we can control: our actions, our boundaries, and our response to the situation. By practicing self-awareness, clear communication, and forgiveness, we can navigate the complexities of trust and boundaries in our relationships. Stoicism reminds us that true strength lies in self-control and that by embracing these principles, We can create relationships that are built on mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Principle 3, empathy and understanding. Empathy is the cornerstone of strong, meaningful relationships, enabling us to connect deeply with others by seeing the world through their eyes. In Stoicism, empathy is not only about understanding others but also about cultivating compassion and tolerance for their imperfections. This principle helps us navigate challenging relationships with a sense of inner peace and self-awareness. Rather than falling into anger or frustration, the Stoic concept of empathy, Stoicism, a philosophy rooted in self-control and rational thinking, emphasizes that people's actions are often driven by their own fears, insecurities, or misunderstandings. Instead of immediately reacting to someone's negative behavior, Stoics encourage us to pause, reflect, and approach the situation with empathy. Epictetus, a renowned Stoic philosopher, reminds us in his teaching, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves." This quote captures the essence of Stoic thought: true peace comes from within, not from controlling or changing others when people act in ways that disappoint or frustrate us. Stoicism teaches that their actions often reflect their internal struggles, not our worth. By viewing these actions through a lens of empathy, we can better understand why they behave the way they do. Perhaps they are acting out of fear, insecurity, or past trauma. This understanding allows us to respond with compassion rather than judgment. Why empathy is essential for healthy relationships. Empathy transforms our approach to relationships by helping us shift our focus from blame and frustration to understanding and growth. It encourages us to see the humanity in others and recognize that they, like us, are doing their best with the knowledge and resources they have. In friendships, empathy fosters a deeper connection, enabling us to support one another through difficulties. When a friend lets you down, instead of reacting with anger or disappointment, you can use empathy to try to understand their perspective. What circumstances might have led to their actions? Are they struggling with something that you're unaware of? This mindset helps preserve the relationship by preventing conflicts from escalating due to misunderstandings. In romantic relationships, empathy plays a crucial role in resolving conflicts. It allows partners to see each other's vulnerabilities, fears, and hopes, promoting open communication and mutual understanding. Rather than assuming malicious intent, empathetic partners seek to understand the emotions driving each other's behavior. This helps create a foundation of trust and compassion, allowing the relationship to grow stronger through challenges in professional environments. Empathy enhances teamwork and collaboration. By understanding your colleagues' emotions and motivations, you can navigate difficult situations more effectively. If someone is critical or uncooperative, practicing empathy can help you identify whether they are dealing with stress or pressure, allowing you to offer support rather than responding defensively. The role of empathy in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believe that most people do not intentionally harm others, rather, their actions are often shaped by ignorance, fear, or a lack of understanding. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself of this principle. Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? This practice of self-reflection encourages us to examine our own flaws before judging others. Fostering empathy and humility. By practicing empathy, we recognize that others are also navigating their own struggles, insecurities, and imperfections. Stoicism encourages us to be kind and patient, even when others fail to meet our expectations. This doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior, but rather responding to it with understanding rather than anger. When we view others with empathy, We are better equipped to handle disappointments and letdowns in a way that preserves our own inner peace. How to cultivate empathy using Stoic principles. Pause before reacting, in moments of frustration. Practice the Stoic pause. When someone lets you down, take a moment to breathe and reflect before responding. Ask yourself, what might this person be going through? What internal struggles could be affecting their actions? By taking time to reflect, you can respond more calmly and thoughtfully. Seek understanding, not judgment. Remember Epictetus's advice to seek the good within yourself, not in external events or people. When someone's behavior frustrates you, try to understand their perspective rather than immediately assuming the worst. Ask open-ended questions that help clarify their motivations. Such as, is everything okay? Or, I noticed you seemed upset earlier, do you want to talk about it? Practice active listening. Stoicism teaches us that listening is an essential part of empathy. When we actively listen to others, we show them that we value their thoughts and feelings. Instead of preparing a response while the other person is speaking, focus entirely on their words and emotions. This practice helps build deeper, more meaningful connections. Let go of unrealistic expectations. Part of practicing empathy involves recognizing that no one is perfect. Stoicism encourages us to let go of the expectation that others will always meet our standards. Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected on the imperfections of human nature, reminding himself that people are fallible. By accepting this, we free ourselves from disappointment and allow space for forgiveness. Cultivate self-compassion. Empathy begins with yourself. If you are harsh or critical of your own mistakes, it's likely that you'll extend that same harshness to others. Stoicism emphasizes self-awareness and self-improvement, but it also encourages self-compassion. When you learn to forgive yourself for your imperfections, you'll find it easier to extend that forgiveness to others. Empathy and emotional resilience. Empathy not only improves relationships but also enhances our emotional resilience. By understanding others' motivations and struggles, we reduce the likelihood of taking things personally. When we see that someone's actions are a reflection of their own internal state rather than an attack on us, we can maintain emotional detachment and respond with grace. This emotional resilience allows us to navigate difficult situations without being consumed by anger or frustration. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control how others behave, but we can control how we respond. Empathy helps us maintain this control by shifting our focus from external actions to our own internal response. When we approach challenges with empathy, we create space for compassion, understanding, and personal growth. Conclusion. Empathy as a Stoic virtue. In conclusion, empathy is a powerful tool for maintaining inner peace and building meaningful relationships. By understanding that others' actions are often driven by their own insecurities and struggles, we can respond with compassion rather than judgment. Stoicism teaches us to focus on our internal state rather than seeking validation or approval from others. By practicing empathy, we not only strengthen our relationships but also cultivate emotional resilience and self-awareness. Epictetus's wisdom, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves," reminds us that our peace and happiness come from within. By cultivating empathy, we align with Stoic principles and become better equipped to handle life's challenges with grace, understanding, and compassion. Whether in friendships, romantic relationships, or professional interactions, empathy allows us to connect deeply with others while maintaining our own sense of inner tranquility. Point 4. Interactive section. Now, I want you to take a moment to reflect. Think about a recent time when you felt disconnected or distant from someone you considered a friend. How did you react? Could you have responded differently using the Stoic principles we've discussed? Take a piece of paper and write down your thoughts. What could you have done differently to maintain your peace? Was there a boundary you could have set? Or perhaps, could you have practiced empathy? If you're comfortable, Feel free to share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've applied these Stoic ideas in your own life. Point 5. Case study/real-life example. Let's now look at Marcus Aurelius, who faced constant disrespect from political enemies and even those close to him. Despite being one of the most powerful men of his time, he never let the actions of others dictate his response. In his famous journal Meditations, Marcus wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Rather than retaliating or seeking validation, he focused on self-control and wisdom. He understood that his peace and his leadership were far more important than how others perceived him. This is a powerful lesson. In our own lives, we can choose to respond with grace, even when others disrespect us or misunderstand us. By focusing on our own actions and virtues, we can maintain inner calm and avoid the emotional turmoil that often comes with interpersonal conflict. 6. Summary and takeaways. So, to wrap up, here are the key lessons from Stoicism on friendship. First, accept who you are. Your shyness or introversion is not a barrier, but a gift. Second, trust must be earned, and setting boundaries is essential for maintaining healthy relationships. Third, practice empathy and try to understand the motivations behind others' actions. And finally, focus on your own virtues. As Marcus Aurelius taught us, the only thing you can control is how you respond. Action steps. The next time you feel disconnected, take a moment to reflect on your response before reacting. Set boundaries in your relationships to protect your peace. Point 7. If you found these Stoic principles helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more insights on how ancient wisdom can improve your life today. Let's keep this conversation going. Leave a comment below and tell me which principle resonated with you the most. And if you know someone who could benefit from this video, share it with them. Together, we can grow stronger and more resilient in our relationships. Thank you for watching. And stay stoic. Practice empathy and understanding, even in challenging situations.